that we have seen of the Jewish world remind us all of Rabbi Wine. Who else could be admired and loved by the President of the State of Israel on one hand, and revered in the halls of Satmar Hasidut on the other? To all of them and to all of us, Rabbi Wine was the voice of Torah. He was the voice of the Jewish people. He showed us our place in the eternal story of Am Yisrael, and he charged us with the mission of writing its next chapter. Many times, Rabbi Wein would recall the verse, the pasuk that we recite in Shofarot of Musaf of Rosh Hashanah. Vayhi kol hashofar holech v'chazek meod. The sound of the shofar would grow stronger. Moshe yedaber, v'Elokim ya'anenu b'kol. Moshe would speak, and God would answer him. I'd like to quote from Rabbi Wine's own words. Published 3 years ago in Majesty, Memory, and Resonance, his insights of Musaf for Rosh Hashanah, how he captured the meaning of this verse. He writes, when human beings sound shofar blasts, the sound weakens as the length of the note increases. The Baal Tokea simply runs out of breath. But the sound of the shofar at Sinai emanated from heaven. It had eternity encased within it. The sound of that shofar did not weaken in time, rather it continued and strengthened. That mighty sound came to symbolize Torah itself. Not only has it maintained itself in Jewish life over millennia, it has the uncanny ability to become stronger and ever more resonant as the generations proceed. One of the great phenomena of our time has been the resurgence of Torah study on a mass scale in Jewish populations the world over. The sound of the shofar at Sinai never weakens nor abates. The verse states, continued Rabbi Wine, Moshe yedaber. The Torah uses the past perfect form of the verb to speak. It infers that Moshe spoke not only in the past, but that he continues to speak in the present and in the future. This is the timeless quality of Torah. It has the ability to speak to every generation, providing values and guidance under all human circumstances. Moshe yedaber, v'Elokim ya'anenu b'kol. Rabbi Wine heard that eternal voice of Torah. He heard it echoing through the generations and the events of our day. And when he spoke, he allowed us to hear it too. Rabbi Wine was a bridge across communities and ideologies. His countless students are proof of that. There is hardly a rabbi in the English-speaking world that does not view himself in some way as a Talmid of Rabbi Wine. Rabbi Wine was a bridge across generations. He was renowned for his history tapes and lectures and books. So much has been said and will still be said about those. But Rabbi Wine never simply recounted the past. He saw history not as a chronicle of what once was, but as a living continuum, one in which each of us takes part. To sit in his presence was to sense the company of the Gdolim of the past. How many times did a conversation with Rabbi Wine begin, the Paner V'Zharav told me, or something just like that. And now it is upon us to keep his presence alive for the generations to come. Rabbi Wine was a living link in the great chain of Jewish destiny. In a world of confusion, he was an anchor of clarity. He had the rare gift to make the complex simple. So many times, no matter what the quandary was, the answer could be as simple as It's what it says in the Torah. What more do you need? And now we find ourselves entering the Yamim Noraim without his guiding voice, and the loss is especially sharp. But his charge to us is clear: to carry forward his lessons, his love of Torah, his faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, his unwavering commitment to the Jewish people. May we be worthy to do so. And may we ensure that his voice continues to resound, not just to us, but to the generations yet to come. One of the projects very close to Rabbi Wine's heart in his years in Israel was the Destiny Foundation. And through the books and films, retreats and lectures, he was able to reach thousands of Jews. Rabbi Nachum Amsel had the privilege of working very closely together with Rabbi Wine on many of these projects. I'd like to ask him now to share some divrei hesped.
Rabbi Yosef Dov Soloveitchik said that the unusual phrase in the Shmoneh Esrei we all say, Pleitat Sofreihem, the remnants of those who were scribes, refers, along with the Hasidim and the Tzaddikim, to that one individual who lived longer and understood better the previous generation, like Sarach Bat Asher. For us, Rabbi Wine was that Pleitat Sofreihem, who allowed us a glimpse of Eastern Europe before it was gone. Although he grew up in Chicago, he had a father who learned in Grodno, his grandfather in Volozhin, his father-in-law in Radin, and all his rabbeim in various yeshivas throughout Europe. That gave him the unique insight into a world that he shared with us, but no longer exists. Rabbi Wine was the last person alive who could do that. Pleitat Sofreihem. Rabbi Wine's final book, which will come out shortly, will reflect this unique understanding. I had the great privilege, as many of you know, and the good fortune to work with Rabbi Wine, not for Rabbi Wine, as he always corrected me, for the last 18 years. And the last 11 of them on a daily basis running Destiny in Israel, especially after he could no longer see. I was in his apartment or driving him around almost every day for hours, trying to help Rabbi Wine in anything he needed. I want to share with you two aspects of his character that most people are probably unaware of. Rabbi Wine was a tremendous Baal Stucker. He asked me to, and I wrote every check that he had the last few years. And any envelope that came to his home, he would send back with funds, even if he didn't know what the institution was. Also, Rabbi Wine was always the smartest person who came into every room that he entered. And yet, he would often sit quietly as conversations took place in that room and never uttered a word unless someone asked him directly to speak. When thinking back through Jewish history upon what to compare Rabbi Wine to, I found one particular personality and one object that seemed most appropriate. The personality, believe it or not, is Yitro. The Torah tells us, Vayishma Yitro Kohen Midyan Chotein Moshe et kol asher asa Elokim leMoshe leYisrael Amo. Yitro understood, Vayishma, everything that happened to Moshe and the Jewish people. And it was because of this that he joined the Jewish people. What was so special about Yitro, in particular, that only he was able to understand, says the Torah? Chazal tell us that Yitro's original name was Yeter, but the rabbis added the Vav into his name because the Zohar says that the Vav is Ot HaEmet, the letter of truth, the connector. Yitro was able to see all the events that happened and connect the dots and realize they were all part of one tapestry. That was also Rabbi Wine. Through his unique experiences with Gedolim, through the tens of thousands of books and tens of thousands of svarim that he read, and through his unique personality, he was able to understand and convey the big picture of Judaism and connect all the dots and share them with us. I don't think it's just accidental that his family name Wine in Hebrew, which has been in the family for over 400 years, according to Rabbi Wine, is made up of 4 letters. All are connected to that Vav. Vine, Vav, Yud, Yud, Nun. Vav, smaller Vav is a Yud, smaller Vav is a Yud, and a longer Vav is the final Nun. Ot HaEmet for Ish HaEmet. The object most similar to Rabbi Wine, I believe, is something that is very enigmatic in the Torah. It is called the Tachash. It was part of the Mishkan, the tabernacle, and the rabbis say that it beautified and enhanced the Mishkan and made it more colorful. But nobody knows exactly what it was made of. Most say it was animal, some say it was vegetable, and it only lasted for 1 generation. So too, Rabbi Berel Wein was like the Tachash. Like the Tachash, he enhanced everything that he touched through relationships, institutions, and of course his Torah. And like the Tachash, he was very colorful, even though he dressed in black and white. His unique sense of humor and his personality and memory made Rabbi Wine a one-time-in-history phenomenon. I end with a story that happened to me personally. About 15 years ago, Destiny decided to have a lecture series made up not only of the audio lectures, but also video of the lectures and a book of those very same lectures, all sold as a 3-in-1. Not that successful. It was the Hashkafa series on the book of Bereshit. Rabbi Wine asked me to annotate the book and put in all the footnotes. In one place, he states that Albert Einstein, in an act of rebellion against his parents, kept the mitzvah from the age of 10 until the age of bar mitzvah. I searched all over the internet, of course, trying to find the source. To no avail. I looked everywhere, anywhere, but nothing helped. Of course, I didn't want to just call up Rabbi Wine and ask him directly. Fortunately, I have a cousin whose father was a great math professor in Bar Ilan, Professor Yammer, who actually lived with Einstein for a short period, and Einstein sponsored his doctorate. So I asked his son, Michael, who was the Rosh Yeshiva of Shalavim, if he ever heard of his father talking about Einstein keeping any of the mitzvot. And again, nothing. So I finally asked Rabbi Wine the source. And without even a pause, he said, it's on page 29 of this biography named This and This about Albert Einstein that came out 7 years ago. His sister, writing in her memoirs before she died, talks about her brother Albert rebelling against their parents, who were secular, and he kept Shabbat and Kashrut and all the mitzvot. Just as Rabbi, and my chutzpah, I bought the book, and I looked it up, page 29. Just as Rabbi Wine had read this biography of Einstein, he undoubtedly read most or all of the dozens and dozens of biographies of Einstein, in addition to all of the other books that he had not only read, but he naturally memorized. Like the 2 kriyot that we are supposed to tear when a Torah, Sefer Torah, is destroyed, one for the words and one for the white surround, I feel that we have to tear 2 kriyot as well for Rabbi Wine, both for his neshama, which was unique, but also for his amazing brain, which was a computer that never forgot anything. Tehei nishmato tzuror, b'tzura tzur ha'chaim.
Rabbi Eli Levin, nephew of Rabbi Wine.
Akdamis, and I'm afraid I'm going to run out of time before I get to the message. But first of all, my English is disastrous. I'm just going to say Dvarim Hayotzim Min Halev, I hope, and I hope they'll be Nichnasim Min Halev. So you'll excuse my vocabulary and excuse my English. Rabbi Wine, first, he said we shouldn't say Divrei Hesped. And even in that, when he said not to say Divrei Hesped, he said keep it short. You know, he was just such a Rabbi Wine thing, Uncle Beryl. But I want to say it wasn't like the regular, you know, don't say hespedim about me coming from humility or tzidkus. It wasn't that. It was so practical. What do you waste? What do you drain a cup? What are you going to, don't plitter. You know, so everything about him was so real and so practical and so lamaisa that just don't waste time, you know, how he would say it. So I'll try to keep it short. I grab my wine's rotzen. Of course, if you ask me to speak, they're the ones that wanted to hear what my angle, you know, so let me say it loud and clear. Uncle Beryl loved the Blat Gemara, loved the yeshiva bacher, loved the good kasha, loved the yeshiva. I remember when his Einikel Yitzi came to Eretz Yisrael, it was in a Basher shir, and he went to listen to the shir with 3 other 100 bachram, and he was in a Shemayim mamish. He loved the Blat Gemara, he loved the kasha, he loved the yeshiva bacher. And it was what he was. He was a yeshiva bacher. That's what he grew up, you know, that's what he was. Wherever he went, and how far he went, on the inside, in his essence, it was the yeshiva bacher, the Blat Gemara, the kasha. And he loved us very much. I'll say again the same thing everybody's been saying. The great rabbi said it, and I'll say it again. What history meant to Beryl Wine, what history was about. Say it in my words. There's a full start with something. There's a Ramah, as a say from philosophy. The philosophy is the mitzvahs, Teres Chatos. Ramah says the Kohen HaShofar, the sound that the shofar makes, the key and the trua, is the sound of the cosmos. It's the sounds of the galaxies, the kochavim. When they're moving, if one has the ability to hear, he hears the key and the trua. And he says what it means. What it means is that if you listen to the koil of the kochavim, you hear the key and the trua, you hear that there was a beginning. You hear that there is going to be an end. You hear there's a plan. We're here for a tachlis, all the fundamentals of our beliefs. There's a Borei Olam, and he made it for a purpose. And there's a plan, and we're here for something. And at the end, there's going to come the tikkun. There is a cheshbon. All of that is in the tkiya and the shvarim and the trua and the tkiya. Story in one of the children's books I meet more than 50 years ago. Maybe some of you know it, about the little girl that's lost, and she comes and she meets the old man, the sage, and she asks him, "Where am I?" And he says, "Where are you coming from?" And she says, "I don't know, I don't remember, but where am I?" She says, "Where do you want to go to?" So she says, "I don't really know, but where am I?" And he answers her, "If you don't know where you're coming from, and you don't know where you want to go to, then it doesn't make any difference where you are." So that was the message. When he talked about history, where we're coming from, it's not about where we're coming from, it's who we are, what we are. Avram Avinu all his meisim, Reb Chaim Volozher says that it went into our spiritual DNA. If Avram Avinu did Lech Lecha, so then it's in our spiritual DNA. If Avram Avinu was always chesed, so Klal Yisrael are going like chasadim in essence, in nature. That's who we are. When Uncle Beryl will tell us the story, he's telling us about where we came from, but it's about who we are. Just one more thought on the same line. The first sif of Hilchas Tkiyas Shofar. How do we know how many tkiyas to blow? Because it says the word true in the Torah. True means with a tkiyah before and tkiyah afterwards. It says the word true 3 times in the Torah. Twice about Rosh Hashanah, once about Yovel. Zichron Trua and Yom Trua, and then it said the Trua about Yovel. And the Gemara says there's a Kabbalah, that all the tkiyas on Chodesh Tishrei, they all have to be done the same. Perplexing. What does Yovel have to do with Zichron Trua? Why do we have to blow? When we're blowing the shofar Yovel, it has to be done together with the shofar Rosh Hashanah. So I was thinking the same idea came to mind. The shofar of Rosh Hashanah is Zichron Trua. The Rasag says 10 ideas that the shofar tells us. Tells us about Bria Soilim, tells us about the Akedah, tells us about the Dvorm of the Nevi'im, tells us about the Churban, tells us about the past. And it tells us about Cheshbon, about Rosh Hashanah, about the Yom HaMalchus. It tells us about Tchias HaMesim and Mashiach. The shofar has these 3 messages. It has the message of the past, it has the message of the present. Rabbi Wein never led a story. It wasn't about history. It wasn't about telling over. It was always about something practical. He was talking current events. Couldn't talk about current events without talking about something that happened in the past or insight that he had from one of his rebbeim. There was no such thing. There's no to'eles of talking about the past if you're not real, if you're not living in the present. When you face our problems and everything that's going on, we have to have the hope of the future. Without the hope of the future, without the plan, where we're trying to go to, makes no difference where we are. And the koil of the shofar of Rosh Hashanah, and that was the koil of Rabbi Wine, always. It was the call to action. It was everything, what we are, what we came from, but do something, accomplish. And it was most of all, again, a sidebar I saw there talking about Rabbi Wine talked about Jewish survival. It wasn't about Jewish survival. Jewish survival sounds like the guy that, just made it to the end line and just, collapsed. It's not, it was the triumph of survival. It was about we came out on top. We're going to come out on top, and we are on top. If we realize who we are and realize what we're coming from, we know where we're supposed to be going. And that's the koil of the shofar, and the koil of Rabbi Wine, who was the koil of the shofar, was the koil of teaching Torah and knowing where we are. And Memela, all the hope and the great plans and all the hope of the future of the Jewish people. Should all be zeicher to live with his memories, and through that better ourselves and be zeicher to Hashana Tova, to a good year and good health, and together to see Bias HaMashiach, Meir B'Yameinu.
The close kesher Rabbi Wine had with the Goldwicht family needs no elaboration. Rabbi Etiel Goldwicht, former assistant rabbi here in the shul, had the privilege of being close to Rabbi Wine in his later years and accompanying him nearly every Shabbat. So ask Rabbi Goldwicht to come and share some words of hesed and some personal reflections. It's hard to stand here in the shul where our Rebbe stood, just listened to the Spedim, sitting across from the Makom of Moreinu V'Rabbeinu. It's very difficult to speak. But Rabbi Wine would push us. These halls were filled Shabbos Shuvah drashas, Shabbos Hagadol drashas, every single Shabbos, every single day, filled with Torah. We lost a big Talmud Chacham who lived like a father. We lost a tremendous leader for the Jewish people. We lost the clarity of mind that he brought into our lives. We lost a man who would take no prisoners. He would say things as they are, simple and clear. He was a Sulam Mutzav Artza V'Rosho Magia Shemaima. He was a ladder that was steadfast on the ground, but his head would soar all the way up to the heavens. He saw things in the big picture, but he was very, very practical. Very today, very here. What was so special about our Rebbe? About Moreinu V'Rabbeinu, Rav Dov Berel Wein? Why did so many people love him? Why were they so connected to him? Why do each and every one of us feel a personal loss? That we lost someone that he had a kesher with me. And everyone felt that in his drushes, but not just people who didn't even know him. They just listened to the tapes and they said, Rebbe, you're my Rebbe. I've been listening to you every time I drive. I used to drive from here to there. I've been listening to your tapes. I feel so connected to you. What was so special about Rabbi Wine? I think Rabbi Wine believed in the power of one. The power of one individual to shape history. The power of one Jew to shape the course of the Jewish people. The power of one Jew. It's because of a few individuals that we're here today. It's because of a few individuals, they shaped my life, Rabbi Wine would say. Remember one time I was walking with him from his house. He needed to make it towards the post office before coming to shul. For Mincha Maariv, he told me we walked through the park on Ramban. The park is filled with kids and they're screaming and they're running. There's some mothers sitting on the side. Some old people maybe waiting for the gate to open by the Chorev shul. Most people saw a lot of noise that's getting in the way. Rabbi Wine saw something else. He saw, and he asked me, what would the Goin say? What would the Gra say if he saw this? What would the Chafetz Chaim say if he saw the children are playing here in Eretz Yisrael? They were waiting to come to Eretz Yisrael. They lived it. What would the Ramban say that he dedicated his life to make it here at the end of his life? Rabbi Yehuda Alevi, who came and died at the shores when he made it to the land of Eretz Yisrael. When he saw the kids playing at the park, it wasn't just a lot of noise or just something that is natural. He saw the nevuah of Od Yeshu Zekenim Uzekenos Berchovos Yerushalayim V'Yeladim V'Yelados Mesachakim Berchovosea. He saw it. He saw the Navi. He saw his famous drasha of the Chazon Atzamos Ayaveshim coming to life. He saw Am Yisrael's dry bones coming. Look, they're here. How can you not see it? That's what he saw on a regular day's walk to the park in Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Wine, when he shared with us the stories of the Rishonim, of the Achronim, of the Nevi'im, history wasn't information. It wasn't dates. It wasn't what happened. It was a conversation. It was a conversation with that individual. What would he say if he saw this now? What's he telling me right now? How could you not hear it? And he clearly articulated those messages to us so that we could hear the chazon, so that we could hear the prophecy, so that we could hear the words of what the Gaon of Vilna would have said if he would have saw this. He believed in the power of one, could shape the world, could shape Am Yisrael, and therefore he believed that there is a power of individuals to shape his life. And every time there was an encounter, he carried that encounter with him. We all know the story of Rav Herzog and his unique relationship with the president because of that. He carried, that was his moment. He told us when we were sitting one Shabbos afternoon, he told us, we're like, Rebbe, how did you get into Jewish history? Like, what made a Rav who already was a Talmud Chacham, a Rosh Yeshiva, a Rav, like decide to do tapes on Jewish history? He said, one time I was in Geula, my first trip to Eretz Yisrael, I went into one of the Sfarim stores, and I was looking at different Sfarim on the Shas. At the time, I had a whole sefer written on sugyas on the Shas, and I wanted to publish it. And as I'm looking at different Sfarim, a Yerushalmi Yid comes and says, You're Rabbi Wine, right? He said, yeah. He said, one time I heard your shiur that you gave. He said, what are you working on now? He said, this is classic in Yerushalayim. A random guy is asking you what you're working on. So he said, I told him I'm working on a sefer on the Shas. So he said, nah. Rabbi Wine, look around. There's so many Sfarim on Shas. Am Yisrael doesn't need another sefer on Shas. Your class brought to life Jewish history like I've never heard before. You should publish a book on that. And the man turned around and left. He said, I've never seen that person again. But he said, that's pshat. When Yosef was looking for his brothers, vayimtze'ehu ish. He's a man that found him. We all have a man. We just need to open up the eyes, open up our ears. And what are the messages that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is sending us? Rabbi Wine was always looking for those few individuals who might impact his life. That's why he had them with the Panovich Rav and with the Satmar Rav and with Reb Chaim Freisworth and with his Rebbeim in the yeshiva. Because they were a person who could impact an entire generation. And Rabbi Wine became that for so many people. I was walking here in Shari Chesed, and a man stops me and he says, you're Rabbi Wine's assistant rabbi, right? I said, yeah. He said, let me tell you a story. I was in the Rav's yeshiva, and I was always sent to the principal's office. So I was very close to Rabbi Wine. He said, I had no chance in yeshiva. I couldn't learn. I couldn't read. I would get into trouble all the time. And Rabbi Wine knew this. He said, at the end of 9th grade, Rabbi Wine took me aside and he said, listen, Bacher. He said, I have one key to my office. And I need someone that I could trust to hold that key. And whenever I need access to a bechina or to a sefer or to anything, I need a person that I could trust to have this key. And I think you're that person. Can I count on you with the key to the principal's office? And you can't give it to anybody else, but if I need something, you're going to be my man. The Bacher said, me? Why me? I'm the biggest troublemaker. He says, you've been coming to my office all year. We have a close relationship. You're the person that I trust. He said, Rabbi Wine saved my life. He said, I am a frum Jew. I have a family living in Eretz Yisrael. I do daf yomi every single day because Rabbi Wine believed in me. Rabbi Wine understood that he was an ish for other people. I asked my little Yeshaya, who's turning 8 tonight. Rabbi Wine was his sandik over here. What do you remember from Rabbi Wine? Said every time we would come in on Shabbos, Rabbi Wine would smile and give me a high five, good Shabbos. How are you, Yeshaya? Always welcomed me with a smile. Every single person mattered to them. Every single individual. And he made them feel important. One time, Rebbetzin Sari Teitelbaum calls me up, and she says that she got a phone call. Does Rabbi Wine have any grandchildren in Yeshivas Ma'arava? Why is that? Because Rabbi Wine came to speak there, and he started off, I want to say, I'm so excited to speak. I have 2 grandchildren here in the yeshiva. It was my son and my older brother Aviad, his son, Moshe. And he said, it's an honor to be here with my 2 grandchildren. And people thought that he actually had his grandchildren, but he made them feel like they were his grandchildren. And they felt that way. Rabbi Wine believed in the power of one. And he was that one individual for so many people. And what he wants is for us to believe in ourselves the same way. Each and every one of us matters. Each and every one of us counts. Each and every one of us is living the nevuos of the Nevi'im by the mere fact that we're living here in Eretz Yisrael. And he saw every day as a nace and as a privilege, and he wanted us to look at every day as a nace and as a privilege. And we need to continue that legacy. Number 1, to keep our eyes open. Who are the people that are influencing our lives? What is the message that is being sent to us by one individual? And who is the one individual that we could be mashpia on for the next generation? When you look at history that way, it comes to life. You're having a conversation with the Rishonim. You're thinking, what's going on? What would they say over here? That's why he was able to say without any qualms, without any hesitations. How can you not see what's going on? How can you not see the miracles? How can you not see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is speaking to us right here? We've been here. We've seen this. It's all written. It was all told. We just need to open up our eyes and see it. The loss is tremendous. It's very hard to come back into the walls, into the shul, and to see Moreinu veRabbeinu, to see his makom sitting empty. To know that we will not be hearing a Shabbos Agadol Drasha from him. The Torah will be continued. The Shiurim will continue. There will be many Shiurim in his honor, and the Kehillah will grow stronger and stronger. But still, there's a big gaping hole in our hearts. May the words in his memory fill that hole. May we ourselves, each and every one of us, in our mitzvos, in our maisim tovim, in our learning of Torah, be an ilui to the neshama. May he be a meilitz yosher on the family, on the kehillah, and on Am Yisrael. Mach Hashem dima. Malkol Panim. After Rabbi Wine published that book on Jewish history, published many, many more, as we all know. In recent years, he published a number of Sfarim in Hebrew as well. Msilah Na'aleh, Drashot on Parashat Shavua, Chukei Chaim on Chagei Tishrei. I'm joined tonight by Rabbi Harel Kohen, who edited, arranged those books masterfully in Hebrew. Rabbi Kohen will share with us some words.
I apologize that I'm going to speak in Hebrew. I got the permission of the Maradeatra in the honor of Yerushalayim, honor of Rebbe, also in the honor that I lack the self-confidence that I have a sufficient varied vocabulary for speaking in English. אשרינו מה טוב חלקנו ומה נעים גורלנו מה יפה ירושתנו. כך נהג הרב לספר בהתרגשות. היה נפתח שיעור בכל יום בכיתתו של הרב בילדותו בשיקגו. והרב ניסה והצליח לגרום לנו להרגיש איתו שם בכיתה ולחוש בזכות ובאחריות הללו. חושבני שכולנו צריכים להתאחד ולומר תודה גדולה להשם על המתנה הנפלאה הזו שהוריד לעולם. תודה שזה היה בדור שלנו, ותודה שבדור שלנו זכינו אנו כאן כולנו להיות שוהים במחיצתו ומודרכים על ידו. איך היה העולם הכללי שלנו והפרטי של כל אחד מאיתנו נראה בלי ההדרכה וההנהגה של הרב אותנו. לפני 40 שנה זכיתי להכיר את הרב. אני לא יכול להתיימר לומר שאני עומד על דעת רבי, אבל ייתכן שלשון הגמרא היא מחויבות, שאחרי 40 שנה מחויבים לעמוד על דעת רבו. ואדם חייב בכבוד רבו אפילו יותר מכבוד אביו, שרבו מביאו לחיי העולם הבא. הרב הרכיב אותנו על במותי התורה, הוא פתח את השער אליה, את שערי התורה, אליה ולאהבתה. כשאני הייתי בן 14 וחצי, בסיום כיתה ח', הוריי היקרים יצאו לשליחות מטעם הסוכנות היהודית לאולבני, ניו יורק. אני זוכר שלאחר נסיעה של 2.5 דרומה למונסי, השנה היא שנת תשמ"ו, 1985, הגענו לחנייה של הישיבה, ובחוץ משחקים בכדור נערים צעירים בני גילי. ואמא שלי אומרת לי, הנה תראה, יש פה גם נערים עם כיפה סרוגה, בטוח יהיה לך פה טוב. נכנסנו, אבא, אמא ואני, אל חדרו של ראש הישיבה. אני באופן טבעי מתרגש מאוד, והוריי שואלים האם ראש הישיבה חושב שהישיבה תתאים לי. כמובן שהרב השיב שהיא תתאים. אני מיד שאלתי, אבל אני מקווה שלא כופים לחבוש כאן כובע שחור, ללבוש ז'קט, לנעול נעליים. אני רוצה להמשיך ללכת בסנדלים כמו בארץ. הרב השיב בחיוך אוהב ומרגיע. שעל הכובע השחור הוא מוותר לי לגמרי. לגבי הז'קט הוא נותן לי זמן להחליט בעצמי. לגבי הנעליים אמר, זה כן חשוב לו, כי זה לא נוגע רק לזמן התפילות. בית המדרש התלמידים לא נועלים נעלי התעמלות או סנדלים. הפשרה המתונה הזאת מאוד השפיעה עליי. התרשמתי עמוקות מהיכולת של מחנך להפריד בין העיקר ובין הטפל. והדבר חיבר באופן מיידי בין הרב לביני. על מנת שלא להותיר אתכם סקרנים, אספר שבתוך ימים בודדים רכשתי נעליים, כדי לא להיות יוצא דופן קניתי ז'קט, ולאחר כמה שבועות, כן, ברצוני החופשי, קניתי כובע שחור עם נוצה אדומה ב$25, שאותו הייתי חובש כמו כולם בשעת התפילות בלבד. בשנתיים שלמדתי בישיבה הייתי למעריץ נלהב של הרב, והייתי משכתב את שיחותיו עמנו ואת השיעורים שלו כמובן בעברית, ואת חלקם זכינו להוציא לאור כעבור כמה שנים בארץ בספר חוקי חיים, מה שהרב היה מכנה my tishri book. כנער מתבגר, הולהבתי מהידיעות המרשימות של הרב בכל תחום. נהניתי מחוש ההומור שלו, מהסיפורים שלו. שתיתי בצמא כל דבר שאמר, ואגרתי אל ליבי ידיעות ומוסרים, שמות של גדולי ישראל, שמות של ספרי קודש. השיעורים הכלליים של הרב, בכל שבוע במסכת הנלמדת לצד שיעורי המוסר שלו, העובדה שהוא עצמו היה המורה להיסטוריה בישיבה, הגאונות שלו לנהל מוסד חינוכי, שנערי התיכון ונערי הבית מדרש, הבוגרים שלומדים במבחני סמיכה לרבנות אצלו, הערבוב הדווקאי של אלו עם אלו יחד בחדרי הפנימיות של הישיבה, ולימוד ותפילה משותפים בבית המדרש, הרי היו כל אלה בכדי לייצר את הסביבה היפה ביותר שיכול נער בן 15 לזכות בה. אני זוכר את מחשבותיי רצות בשומי את שיעוריו בישיבה, מההתרשמות מכך שלכל מסר תמיד היה לרב סיפור נלווה מן המוכן, ותמיד תמנו לעצמנו איך זה שהרב פוגש כל הזמן סיטואציות רבות כל כך שהוא יכול לספר עליהן ולהשתמש בהן ולהעביר דרכן את המסרים בשיעור. למה לי לא מתרחשים כל המאורעות האלה? ברבות השנים הבנו משהו שלמעשה הוא בעצמו אמר לנו, שהוא למד מרבו רב מנדל קפלן איך לקרוא עיתון, איך להרכיב את המשקפיים של רבותינו, את המשקפיים של התורה, ולהביט על כל מאורע שהוא. וממילא כשזאת ההסתכלות, כל דבר שקורה במציאות רואים בו את הקדוש ברוך הוא שמנתב את הכל ומנצח על המקהלה כולה. המסרים עם הסיפורים חדרו עמוק לתוככי לשד העצמות הרכות שלנו, נערים שרק חגגו בר מצווה, שנה או שנתיים לכל היותר לפני כן. כל מסר שכזה היה כמו בוסט של עירוי, ויטמינים, דשנים ורעננים לתוך העורקים והוורידים של הנשמה. הרב נהג לומר שמי שנכנס בשערי הישיבה, למעשה לעולם לא יוצא ממנה. אני זוכר את המכתב שהוא הקריא לנו פעם בכאב, באיזה שמוס ביום חמישי בערב ב9, שכתב לו תלמיד ששנה ופירש, רחמנא ליצלן. הוא מאשים בו את הרב שדברי הרב רודפים אותו, I remember the Lashon, it haunts me, וגורמים לו איסורי מצפון. הרב אמר, לא התכוונתי אף פעם לרדוף אף אחד, אבל טוב שהתלמיד ייזכר מדי פעם בדרך הישר. דברים אלו הותירו רושם בל יימחה, שעיצב את צורת החשיבה של התלמידים ואת השאיפות שלהם. רבינו נהג לספר שכשהוא הוציא פה בארץ רישיון נהיגה ישראלית, כשהוא יצא מהחנייה, אז הבוחן העיר לו שהוא בטח לא ישראלי, we can see you're American. כי לפני שיצא לכביש הוא הביט במראה האחורית, the rear view mirror, מה שישראלים רבים לא עושים מספיק. מכאן נהג להמשיל שאנחנו צריכים להביט במראה האחורית. אנו באים לעולם מאוחר מדי, הולכים מוקדם מדי, ורואים פרק מצומצם במציאות, ומגיעים ממנו למסקנות שגויות, עד כאן לשונו. אי אפשר לצאת לדרך מבלי להביט במראה האחורית, זכור ימות עולם בינו שנות דור ודור. כמו דבריו הנודעים של הרב הרצוג לרבנו בילדותו, האם שמעת מה שאמרתי? אחרי שאמר שהוא וחבריו צריכים לפעול לשיקום כלל ישראל לאחר השואה, אחד מהמנועים של הרב, שבלא ספק היוו את שורשי המוטיבציה שלו בדרכו, בחייו, הייתה אמורה האלמותית של החפץ חיים לתלמידו הרב אליעזר לוין, חותנו של הרב, גיירדן מתעידן, לכו דברו עם העם. אמר רבינו על כך, אינני היורש של חותני, אך סיסמה זו נתקעה גם בראשי. אין צורך לצעוק עליהם, ולא לזעוק, ולא לאיים, אלא לדבר. דרכיה דרכי נועם. והרב היה אמן המילים. במעט מילים כל אות ידע להדריך אותך באופן כזה, שהדברים יהיו בך לאות ולמופת ולזרעך עד עולם. הגאונות והמקצוענות בתורת הנאום של רבינו, הריני כפרת משכבו, נוצרו ושוכללו בו בגלל השליחויות האלה, מהחפץ חיים ומהרב הרצוג, ולאלו התווספה האהבה הגדולה שאהב הרב את התורה ואת עם ישראל. ואם צריך לדבר עם עם ישראל, צריך לדעת כיצד לדבר עם עם ישראל. בישיבת שערי תורה לתלמידים הבוגרים בכיתה י"ב היה שיעור שבועי בתורת הנאום. How to speech. איך לדבר עם עם ישראל. אני זוכר כמה רציתי להיות בן 18 כמותם, כדי שאני אוכל גם להיכנס ולהשתתף בשיעור כזה. ההשקעה של הרב בתורת הדיבור והנאום גרמו לכך שבכל פעם שתפגוש את הפסוק או ההלכה שהרב הזכיר בשיעור, אתה תיזכר בהם דרך הסיפור, וכן ההפך. כשתראה את ההלכה, תיזכר בסיפור. כשאתה נזכר ברבינו, אתה מרגיש מוצף בטוב. אתה מרגיש צורך לעשות טוב, לחשוב טוב. הרב נהג לומר על כמה מרבותיו, הוא היה כל כך טוב אליי. בישיבת שערי תורה היו רוב התלמידים תושבי מונסי. ובשבתות נהגנו להתכנס מיעוט תלמידים שאינם גרים בעיירה, ולהכין עבור עצמנו סעודות שבת. לחג השבועות הוזמנו כל הבחורים. ואני לא הוזמנתי לביתו של אף חבר. ניגשתי אל ראש הישיבה בבושה וסיפרתי לו על כך. הרב אמר לי, אתה תסעד אצלי. אמרתי, הרב, יש 4 סעודות בחג. הרב אמר לי, בכל 4 תהיה אצלי. אני זוכר את ההתרגשות שנחרטה בליבי כשנכנסתי אל בית הרב והרבנית ב-12 הילטופ פלייס. התפעמתי מכמות הספרים המסודרים כמו חיילים בכל הסלון. למחרת שאלתי את הרב, אני ישראלי, אין לי יום טוב שני, אני לא אהיה איתכם בבית כנסת, איך אני אדע מתי לבוא לסעודות? דיברתם על המפתח. הרב אמר לי, אשאיר לך מפתח מתחת לשטיח, ותבוא מתי שאתה רוצה, ותרגיש כמו בבית שלך. which I did. אני זוכר איך יושב הרב בראש השולחן הארוך, שהתארחו בו תלמידים נוספים. I thought I'm the only one, but it was full. הרבנית בצד השני, והרב משגר לכוס של ברכה מהקידוש שעשה. איזו אריסטוקרטיה, איזה בניין של מלכות. ואני זוכר את עוגת הבננה החלבית הנפלאה שהרבנית עפתה. אלו רגעים שלא שוכחים. גם שכבר למדתי כאן בארץ בישיבת בית אל, נענה לבוא הרב ולמסור שיעור כללי בישיבה. השיעור עסק בלפני עבר לא תיתן מכשול, לא לתת לחברו עצה שאינה הוגנת, גמרא בעבודה זרה ובפסוחים. אני זוכר דברי הפתיחה של הרב לשיעור. בעולם יש את העם היהודי. ככה הוא פתח. ובתוך העם היהודי יש את מי שזכו ללמוד תורה. ובראש העוגה יש את הדובדבן שבקצפת, וזה אתם כאן בישיבת בית אל, שלומדים תורה שלמה במקום קדוש כל כך. לקחנו זאת ברצינות, כי הוא באמת התכוון לזה. וזה חיזק אותנו מאוד. אחרי 40 שנה של לימוד מהרב אני יכול לומר דבר אחד שנהיר לי מאוד. הרב בסיפורים המוחשיים שיצאו מליבו, הצליח לגרום לשומע אותו להרגיש שהוא נמצא ממש בתוך הסיפור. אני מרגיש תמיד כאילו גדלתי בבית של החפץ חיים יחד עם הרב לוין, ורואה את החפץ חיים מדבר אל עצמו, ישראל מאיר, למה אתה מתרגז? אתה רוצה לאבד את העולם הבא שלך בגלל רוגז? הרב בסיפורים הללו הפך אותנו להיות בני בית ממש. דיירים בתוך הבית של החפץ חיים, דיירים בתוך הבקתה שגרו במשפחת הרב אופנברג בוושיקי, סבא של הרבנית. הרגשנו שהיינו עם הרב ויין וחותנו הרב לוין אצל הקרדיולוג, כשהרב לוין אמר לרופא, אתה שואל אותי אם אני מתפעל ממכשיר שיקוף הלב, ואני מתפעל מהמכונה הזאת שנקראת לב. הרב ראה עצמו כגשר, וזה כבר הוזכר מקודם, בין דור העבר שלפני חורבן קהילות יהדות אירופה לבין דורנו. חושבני שנכון יהיה לומר שמשנת הגשר הזאת היא גם שמהווה את המסר לשיעור האחרון המצולם כאן בבית הכנסת, שמסר הרב בערב שבת פרשת חוקת, 6 שבועות לפני העלותו לגנזי מרומים. בשיעור האחרון הזה עסק הרב בדברי נביאות של ממש, בתסכול של בני ישראל מפטירת משה רבינו, כשמובן להם שמשה רבינו אינו מלווה אותם בכניסתם לארץ ישראל. שיעורו של הרב עסק בהבחנה בין גישתם בתחילת הדרך, their attitude, לאחר יציאתם ממצרים. אז אמרו, והאיש משה לא ידענו מה היה לו, והביא אותם לאיבוד עשתונות, עד לחטא העגל, לבין ההשלמה עם האובדן בסוף שנת ה-40. הרב הקדיש את שיעורו האחרון הזה להסביר שבני ישראל רכשו ב-40 שנה, מדרגה כזו של יכולת להתמודד עם האובדן, לשאת את התורה הלאה. והרב אמר, זהו הישג, זוהי מדרגה שהתורה באה ללמד אותנו. ממש זה השיעור האחרון שהרב מסר פה למטה, שצולם. אמרו לי שהוא אחר כך נתן עוד שיעור בשבת. בהסתלקות של הרב צריך לקבל אחריות, ולהבין שזו מוטלת כרגע על תלמידיו, על מושפעיו. האבלות והפרידה ממשה רבינו צריכה להיות כזאת שבונה ומייצרת, שמעצבת את אישיות התלמידים ובוודאי לא שוברת אותה. דומני שדבריו גם מנחמים, כי הדבר הכי חשוב במשנת רבינו היה לחזק יהודים, ברב או במעט, לרומם יהודים ואת ערכם בעיני עצמם. נוהג היה לצטט את דברי אבי תנועת המוסר, רבינו ישראל מסלנט, שטוב לו לאדם לחצות את כל אירופה, כדי לחזק אנשים, גם אם זה יהיה רק פעם אחת בשיעור קצר בין מינכה למיירי, בבית כנסת מקומי. וגם אם המחוזק היחיד יהיה הדובר בעצמו. לחזק אנשים יכול בהחלט כל אחד מאיתנו. וזו משימת כולנו, אלה פה, כולנו חיים. הגשר שהרב בנה במשך 70 שנה, שנות רבנות בעם ישראל, נשאר מוצק. לא חדלו בו אורחות וסואן. קשה לתאר את הגשר הזה בין דורנו לבין הדורות שקדמו לנו, מבלי הרב ופועלו. אנחנו מחויבים כולנו להמשיך ולחזק אותו, את הגשר הזה, למען הדורות הבאים, אחרינו, ובעיקר לנסוע בו בגשר, הלוך ושוב, לשמור את השיירות מצויות בו, להמשיך להנכיח את מוסרי התורה לנגד עינינו ממש. הודות לגשר הנפלא שנבנה, הגשר נשאר גם אם היוצר שלו כביכול הסתלק. כל ימיו שאף וקיווה הרב לעלות עם הרבנית יוכבד לארץ. תמיד בישיבה דובר על כך שהרב מצהיר שכשהוא יהיה בן 60, הוא יעלה עם הרבנית לארץ ויכתוב בארץ ספרים. ככה הרב אמר. אלא שרבינו מסר נפשו על ארץ ישראל פשוטו כמשמעו, וההחלטה של הרב והרבנית לעלות ארצה גבתה מחיר של ריחוק בראש ובראשונה מהמשפחה, שהרב כאמור היה מקושר אליה בכל נפשו ומאודו. היה זה ניסיון משמעותי לרב ולרבנית יוכבד. אמנם הרב פרח כאן ברבנות הקהילה הנפלאה הזאת שלו, חיבר עוד ועוד ספרים, הפיק סרטים ומסר אלפי שיעורים, אבל לא מספיק ערכו להם ימי השמחה, וכעבור כ-12 שנה נפטרה הרבנית, האהובה והנערצת יוכבד, שהייתה מכונה בפי כל ג'קי. אולי היה מתבקש אז שהרב יבחר לשוב אל הגולה, להיות בחיק משפחתו בשנים הכי יקרות של נחת מהנכדים והנינים, הנולדים שהכירו את סבא רק בביקורים הקצרים שהוא היה אצלם, שקצת הגיעו לפה, אבל הרב בחר להישאר בירושלים. כעבור זמן קצר הוא ניסה בשנית, כשנפטרה גם מירה עליה השלום, כעבור 12 שנה נוספות, ולרב כבר עשרות רבות של נכדים ונינים באמריקה. שוב הקריב את כל אוי נג אוי לא מזה שלו. את העולמך תראה בחייך, את כל החיים המשותפים עם צאצאיו, והחליט באופן נחרץ להישאר לגור בירושלים אהבתו. כששרי והרב משה טייטלבום העיקרים עלו ארצה לפני כ5 שנים, הרב כמו נולד מחדש, ושמח על הדבר מאוד. רצונו המובהק של רבינו זצ"ל היה האופן בו סיים בדרך כלל את הרצאותיו, ורבים משיעוריו, שנזכה לראות בנחמת ציון, ובעניין ירושלים, להיות ממלכת כהנים וגוי קדוש, שנה טובה, כתיבה וחתימה טובה לנו ולכל ישראל.
Final speaker for tonight, Rabbi Moshe Teitelbaum, son-in-law of Rabbi Wine.
On behalf of my wife, Sari, on behalf of all our family, thank you for joining in this Shloshim Hazkara for our father, grandfather, great-grandfather, uncle, great-uncle, for one of the wisest and greatest Jewish leaders, teachers, and mentors of our time. What are you going to do? When I say those words, many of us recall that story that has been referred to tonight twice. The story of Rav Herzog's urging on a young boy, not yet even bar mitzvah, among others in the room. But there were those listening, and there was someone who heard the message, and who carried that message on into his life and fulfilled what had been asked of him. What are you going to do? Is it enough that we've come here tonight and we've shown honor to Rav Wine's memory and to his life's work? Is it sufficient that we have momentarily inspired each other, been inspired by wonderful speakers, by the Rav Shlita, by the Rebbe Shlita, by the family, by Rav Harel? Is that sufficient that we have again heard and felt the sense of joy we've had to be with Rav Wine, to learn from Rav Wine, his blend of wisdom and his unbending devotion to and faith in Hashem, Torah, and the Jewish people. Is that enough? I believe we owe much more than that, because we have had the privilege of knowing him and learning from him. We owe much more than that to him and to his memory. I believe that we can and must lift the neshama of Harav Dov ben Harav Zev perpetually, again and again. And we, especially here in Eretz Yisrael, have an opportunity to do so in the following way. You know, he often told the story of how he woke up the first morning here in Eretz Yisrael when he and my beloved mother-in-law, Aleha Shalom, when they made Aliyah. And the first morning they went to Makolet. There was nothing in the cupboard or the refrigerator, and he needed a few begelach and a yogurt or two, and the little plastic bag of milk. You remember that, how it used to be? So he goes to the Makolet and he buys the milk and he puts it down, and he puts down the yogurt and the begelach, and he puts it on the counter, and the pakid, or the owner of the store, counts it all up, tallies it up, he pays, and he looks at Rabbi Wine, and Rabbi Wine looks at him and waits for him to pack it up and put it in his sakid. And they're just looking at each other. Game. Sakid, will take. Where's your basket? You'll take it home in your basket. He didn't have a basket, so he says, I put, up in one yogurt in one pocket, and one yogurt in the other pocket, and the bag of milk, And he taught us, he said, Ein kli machzik bracha ela hashalom. After everything we ask for of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, sim shalom tova uvracha. After everything has been said, after everything that has moved us about this great, great man, our very beloved, great father, shalom. We have to put it in a sal, have to put it in a basket. Take that tenner, take that basket we just read about in Bikurim, bring it up, lift it up. But the basket for our time, if we can't bring the basket of Bikurim, we have not yet been zocheh to do so. How about a basket of peace, an attitude of shalom, an attitude of kindness, the shalom that predominated in everything that Rabbi Wein did. There was no controversy. He would not steep in it. He would not allow it, not in shul, not in the yeshiva, not with an individual Talmud, certainly never at home. So I once asked him, but there are so many burning issues, and there's so much that's so difficult and that's so controversial, and what shall we say and what shall we do? And you've heard the answers. It will all sort itself out. If it needs to change, it will, slowly. Takes time. Have faith in the Ribono Shel Olam. Have faith in the people. Have faith in Jewish destiny. But maintain the peace. We all admired Rabbi Wein, Zatzal. Could we please answer the question that he really was asking us when he told over that story? What are you going to do? He made it sound like it was a question of Herzog Zatzal asked him. You know who he was really asking? He was asking you. He was asking us. What are you going to do? And if we could perpetuate a sense, or foment, if not perpetuate, first to create a sense of peace, a sense of true Ahavas Yisrael all about us individually. Think about how he would never, ever say a bad word about any sector or stream of Jew who wishes to serve God. Sfaradim, Mitnagdim, Prushim, Chardalim, Chasidim, Mitnagdim, all good. Not one bad word. Because if it's an observant Jew who cares, then we love him and her, we embrace him or her, because they're part of our family. And we are destined to be a family. And in that bracha of peace, in that basket, there's more and more and more room. And with regard to the individual Jew who may be close to God or farthest away from Torah and observance, bear in mind what Rabbi Wine always taught us, to appreciate them as Jews, beloved to God. And therefore, necessarily, they must be beloved to us. That's what we must do. One concrete step to enforce our Ahavas Yisrael in Rabbi Wine's memory, in perpetuating one of the many great pillars that he constructed, that he stood up in our lives, in the lives of his family, in the lives of this community, and in Klal Yisrael. Shalom. Tolerance, love, shalom. Let's catch ourselves when we are just about to say something, feel something, express something that isn't just quite so elegant or beautiful or appreciative about some other yid, some other way, some other mahalach. And then we will indeed lift his neshama. That'll be an answer to what he was been asking us over and over, perhaps for many, many years. What are you going to do? In his memory, and we see Shalom al Yisrael.
To conclude the evening, I'd like to ask Simcha Fast to recite Karmelei Rachamim, followed by which we'll daven Mariv.
Male Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hametze Menucha Nechona, Al Kanfei Ashchina, B'ma'alot Kedoshim Uteorim, Kezohar Harakia, Mazhirim, Lenishmat Moreinu V'Rabbeinu Harav Dov Ber Ben Harav Zev Shalach Leolamo Bavo Shekulanu Mitpalelim Leilui Nishmato Began Eden Menuchato Lachen Baal Rachamim Yastireyu Beseter Knafav Leolamim Vitzra Chaim Et Nishmato Adonai Hu Nachalato Veyanuach Beshalom Al Mishkavo Venomar